Oh, welcome everybody by this roundtable event today. And this event is organized by the Embassy of the Netherlands. And organizing this event should get a better picture and insight into how broad the interest is of the Dutch fashion labels in the textile production in Portugal. And also to get a better insight into the sustainability of the Portuguese textile industry. We have our guest here at the table. I want to introduce everybody, also our guest in Portugal, but I will start here. On my left side, it's Rosemary Ruigrok from Clean and Unique. And it is the online platform for sustainable fashion brands, designers, and all experts and suppliers in the fashion industry. We got Daan Ubach van Unrope Company Fashion. And on this side, we got Rick Schuring van Textile Workwear. And in Portugal, welcome Bras Costa from Citeva, the technological institute which provides technological supports and services to companies acting in the textile and clothing industry. And Geesje Moschis from Hooked Recycled Yarn. Hello, welcome. And host of this event and is the Dutch Embassy, or the Netherlands Embassy, sorry for this. Maurice Melenberg, initiator of this event, welcome. And Esra, the Vice Ambassador in Portugal. And I would like to give the word first for a welcome to Esra Sen, and then I will continue. My name is Bianca Moens, and everybody welcome. Esra.
Thank you very much, Bianca. It's a pleasure for me to welcome you all to this event. It's the first event that we are hosting as an embassy in this field. I would just like to very briefly start by linking this event to the higher political agenda of the Dutch government, under which, of course, this embassy operates. Then I would like to very briefly mention some figures, interesting figures between the Netherlands and Portugal in the textile sector. And then I would like to conclude by highlighting the embassy's role in this. So maybe start with the first one. As you may be all aware, the Netherlands is aiming at developing a fully circular economy by 2050. We are very ambitious and we are working on a government-wide program with transition agendas and an implementation program. And one of the priority topics is actually in the transition agenda is circular textiles. And the government has launched a policy program which aims to use at least 30% recycled material in new clothing by 2030, and also have halved the environmental footprint of the textile sector by 2035. There was a research done in 2017, which was called Measuring the Dutch Clothing Mountain. Maybe you've heard of it, but there were some really interesting figures that I would like to mention here about the Dutch consumer, but also the Western European consumer buying an average of 22 kilograms of textile annually. And what the research also shows is that, for example, an average Dutch consumer buys 46 items a year of new clothing. 173 items an average Dutch person has in his or her wardrobe, of which around 30% is never used. So just to give an idea of where we were at 2017 and where we could gain more in this sector of circular textile and the value chain. And there I would like to link it also to Portugal, since what I believe Portugal and the Netherlands share is that both countries are very ambitious in terms of sustainability goals. That's why I think it's a very interesting theme to work on with specifically Portugal. If you look at the numbers between Portugal and the Netherlands in this sector, you could see that the Netherlands is the 7th largest export destination for Portugal in the textile sector, and of which 5% is the total export with regards to the Netherlands. So it's quite a considerable percentage. That brings me to the final words on our embassy's role. Since we are an embassy based in Lisbon working on the relation between the Netherlands and Portugal, we are a very small embassy, first of all, and we have a small economic team. And that's the reason why we try to identify niches where we can work in and where we as an embassy can be of added value. And we have seen in the past year an increasing number of trade requests, of questions coming from Dutch companies interested in finding out possibilities with regards to Portugal. And that is actually the reason why we've decided to organize this with the help of you, to organize this first roundtable to see what are the questions, what is the interest, and to identify where we as an embassy could be of added value in the future. So I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to hear from the experts that will be speaking later on during this roundtable, how we can move this subject forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Esra. Well, that's my first question then to you, Maurice, because we were getting contact a couple of months ago, and you told me about all the questions you got from all the fashion labels. Can you give me some idea of what are the questions about, and what are the brands are mainly looking for?
It's quite diverse in terms of sectors. So there's a range of fashion producers or people that look for production in Portugal for shoes, handbags, accessories, also home decoration articles. It's quite diverse, but one thing is they have in common. It's they want to have flexibility in production facilities, in batches. And another thing is sustainability that they're all interested in. So I think these two main items triggered us to look into it further and reach out to you, as well as to Bras from CITEF, which I had met 2 years ago almost. So these two things, there's a lot of opportunities the Portuguese economy and the textile sector has to offer. And we want to bridge that information.
Okay, thank you. Well, Rosemary, you're from Clean and Unique, and it's the international online and offline platform for sustainable fashion. For 15 years now, you started with Clean and Unique, and you got a lot of knowledge, a lot of expertise, will all come together on your platform. And you are the front runner of, I think, in this field for the circular and sustainability in the fashion. So these terms, circular, sustainability, the production of it, we hear these terms more and more and more, and it seems to be a trend, but maybe you can briefly explain these terms, because it is for us, we all know now, very important for the future and to go on with this process.
Thank you, first of all, that I can join this conversation. So what I saw 20 years ago, that social responsibility for bigger corporates became already more important. Price Waterhouse, all these consultancy agencies start to look after what it's needed to follow this new trend, like you say. But it's a hell of a job. And we see this also with the Dutch Clothing Covenant and all these certification organizations. And so a lot of people are searching also for simplicity. And you see that through the years, that from social responsibility to sustainability and now circularity. because I saw that not so much people had a feeling with what is social responsibility. But with circularity, you can imagine the circle has to be round, it has to be closed. So now, together with the NEN, the Dutch organization who makes these certifications, we have now developed a NEN certification on what we mean with circularity. And I'm happy that they came up with a closed loop and an open loop, but that is only for materials. And in circularity, I miss a lot of times also the social part in this. For me, circularity, social responsibility means that when it comes to responsibility with who you are doing business, how do you do business, get everyone well paid, don't you harm the environment, don't you harm the people, all is inclusive. So the holistic approach, and I'm happy that we found a method by circularity that we can include everything.
Okay. And why is nearshoring important for you in this matter?
Yeah, I think maybe it's a little bit different than from the electronic industry or so on. Textile is really a different kind of industry. You work with humans. And a lot of people, they say, this is handmade, but then I react most of the time, but do you think who's behind this sewing machine or who is cutting everything?
Mm-hmm.
So we work with humans make a mistake, and also the interpretation of order sheet, but nowadays goes directly to the Far East and you don't have anyone there. So how you explain this order sheet, and when manufacturers are working for multiple organizations or brands, every brand, they have their own order sheet. So how to implement it? So it also mistakes can be made very easily. So I think when you have a very short contact and you are close by, even there is a little problem, you can go immediately to this place and to handle the problem. So also defaults, etc., are decreasing, I think, than when you work with a company where there's a language barrier, where there's an attitude who is different, a time difference. Yeah, in Portugal, I think you have to work in Europe, and especially in Portugal. I lived in Portugal as well 2 years. I worked with the Portuguese and they understood the textile industry very good.
Okay. Then you produce in Portugal already,
Yep.
you for your company, and but you brought your production from Asia to Europe, to Portugal.
Yeah, well, I'm in textiles now for 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
First as a buyer, most of it in Asia, in China, India, Indonesia. Later on, I produced myself for a production company in Jakarta. I lived and worked there for the major brands like Ralph Lauren and Calvin Klein, Hugo Boss, which was a great experience. Also to get insights in the way of working of these different companies. And I always mention, once I was with the design director of Ralph Lauren 1 week in the middle of Java to work on a new collection and to show our factories which were sustainable. And he was very enthusiastic about what we've done, and we had a great week, and we said bye, and he flew back to New York. And after that, I had to negotiate with his buyers, and it was a tough negotiation, which in the end forced me to go back to the charcoal-driven factories, the non-sustainable factories, in order to reach the price, their target price. So then I thought, okay, this could be different. So I moved back to Amsterdam to start my own brand, which is Unrope. And with Unrope, the mission is dressing people by undressing the industry. So I want to liberate it from its bad habits, material-wise, production location, transparency.
It was already for you an idea to come back to Europe and start a production here in Europe instead of going to Asia back again with your
exactly. Yeah. That was in the core. I moved back and I stay. I want to produce locally. Already something what was starting in the food industry to have more local ingredients to cook on what's in that season, right? So I started Unrope, and now I also founded Unrope Company Fashion, which is sustainable company fashion for companies like Swapfiets or Crisp, SodaStream, ID&T, and I mainly produce in Portugal, also a little bit in Italy and Greece, but mainly focused on Portugal.
And is there a big difference in production costs, for example, when you compare it to Asia now and now producing here in Europe?
At the beginning it is still. I think Portugal is a premium price. Therefore, also Unrope is a direct-to-consumer brand. So we've cut out the middleman in order to keep that selling price still affordable for the consumers, while the buying price is a little bit more than compared to Asia. Nowadays, you see a lot more allocation of Asia productions to Europe because of the transport cost rising, the lack of energy in China. But of course, there's a premium price to pay for it. Yeah.
And how important is it for Unrope that the production is circular and that there are transparency in the production? Do you keep a close eye on it, or is it something what you say it is okay, but it's not main focus? But for Unrope, I think
for Unrope it is. So we work actually. We believe in long-term relationships. We think that's also something. So we are not hopping for the best price. We are committed to work together with our factory, which is also making steps in terms of sustainability, much more than it was 5 years ago. And actually, the nice thing I think about Portugal is that the supply chain is very short. It's all in a close vicinity of it. So, for example, the fabric mill is owned by my factory, and it's just next to it. The dye houses are 5 blocks away. So in one day you can see the whole supply chain, which is easy to control. All the certifications are there, so also third parties are auditing, obviously. But for me, that's very nice. And we have a QR code in every product, which shows where, by who, and how the product is made, to give that insight to the consumer.
Talking about the consumer, is it important for the consumer as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Sustainability,
it's getting more and more. Like 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago when I started, it was a bit sometimes a niche.
Yeah.
You really had to create that awareness and explain to people all the bad habits of the fashion industry. But I think nowadays, also due to the corona pandemic, people are much more aware of things going on in the fashion industry, and that results also in that they are demanding more from fashion brands.
Yeah. So your customers also demanding that everything is sustainable and circular.
Exactly, and then the customers from Unrope Company Fashion, they're also demanding much more sustainable practices. So they come to a company like Unrope, but also they really believe that production should be local. So you work together with your customer and you're both demanding or asking the same. So that's a great relationship for the future.
Yeah, good. Bras, Citeve has known for some years that the demand for circular and sustainable production will only increase. What have been the most important steps for you in the recent years or in the last years? And do you think that Citeve is now one of the leading companies in Europe that when it comes to the process of circular and sustainable production in the whole process and the things what Citeve is doing?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, in fact, nowadays Portugal has a very nice position in terms of sustainability. And the history is a little bit interesting because in our research center, we started many years ago to develop some philosophies, if you want, as well technologies, and ways to convince, to create awareness in the industry about this opportunity for the future. So for us, we must take the topics in hands with 5 or 6 years before. The track record of this industry in terms of sustainability is long. In the 90s, this industry created the first, maybe the only one in the world, integrated system, collective integrated system for wastewater treatment. So accompanying all the river, one of the more important rivers in Portugal for textile and clothing industry. In the 90s, we created this integrated system. It was a first step, but since then, towards the future, other phases, other steps, like a big intervention inside the plants in order to implement cleaner technologies, spending less water, less energy, avoiding waste in all parts of the process. But I think that in the last 5 years, the trigger was the market. I mean, when the sustainability concerns enter in companies through the commercial department, this is the change, the big change. Fortunately, in the scientific and technological sector in Portugal, we had lots of work done. And in the moment companies need support to implement new approaches, we were prepared to do so. So in 5 years, Portugal is one very good example how to embrace sustainability as a model of business.
Yeah, so more companies in Portugal are ready to meet the demand for sustainable and circular production. So it is more and more that CITEVA also helps to get all the suppliers and producers ready for the demand.
Yeah, of course, we have always some tractors, some pilot companies, maybe some big companies or not so big companies that started and they demonstrated to the others the possibility to embrace sustainability as a business model, as an opportunity. As you know, in Portugal, despite our labor costs are lower than the mean in Europe, it is not possible to maintain a textile sector in Portugal competing with low-cost labor around the world. So for this reason, we moved from 2 or 3 decades now, from basics to more complicated, more complex products in 2 ways. In one end, to associate services to the transformation. 30 years ago, Portugal was just a transformation sector, a transformation industry. But nowadays, like our colleague mentioned before, it is possible to come to Portugal and to claim for suggestions for their collections. No more we have retailers coming and asking for replicating a developed product. More and more customers come and ask what you can propose to my collection. At all, in all areas, not only design, as well eco-design. and what kind of functionalities you can put inside your products, what level of perfection you can have in the final product. So for this reason, I think that the most part of companies now have somehow a strategy for sustainability. Why? Because they discover this opportunity and they know that this opportunity will not come again. So it's time to get this opportunity and to consolidate Portugal as one or maybe the first source of sustainable products for fashion, but not only for fashion, as well for technical applications like automotive industry or protective equipment, sports, and so on. So now sustainability is not a philosophy, no more a philosophy. This is clearly a business for those companies, and for us and for them, it puts some challenges for the future. I can afterwards explain what is our strategy for the future. Of course, mixing the several roadmaps, for instance, related to digitalization, but also the roadmap for perfection or for performance with this one basic pillar of our competitiveness in the future. I believe that's the sustainable way to make fashion in Portugal.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And Rick, your company, Textiles, is looking for manufacturers in Europe, in Portugal.
Yes.
Why? Why Europe? And why do you think that Portugal is suitable for your company?
No, we're as Textile, we're part of the New Wave group. So it's a big Swedish company with 50 brands in it. Mm-hmm. And so for now and for like the 30 years the company has existed, buying is done in Asia. But true to the developments in the Netherlands and in the Benelux market, we see much more questions for local productions to bring it back to Europe, but also for more sustainable productions. And yeah, we are much further sustainability-wise in Europe than in Asia. When I have to tell my colleague in Asia that we want to use recycled cotton, he never heard of it. And so in Europe, also those developments are much further. And why Portugal? It's because it's next door, and it's because of the supply chain is very steady. We all face the difficulties, and we all hear the difficulties of the supply chain problems in Asia at the moment. We're facing them as well. So we are really looking to expand our pool of manufacturers in Portugal on a really quick timeline. Yeah.
Okay, what is then the first priority to make that choice for the supplier or for the producer? What is one of the main reasons to say, okay, if that producer will have this and this and this, then it will be the choice for Textile to take my fashion line production there?
It's also sustainability and how they are looking into the future. That's for us very very important, because we've said as Textile Benelux we want to be as sustainable as possible with all our products within 2030. So then we have to take steps right now and not wait another 5-6 years. So that's one of the things really important. Of course, price-wise is also still one of the things we are willing to pay more, just like you. But workwear is a very competitive market with a lot of players, and price-wise is still a thing in the Benelux market. So price-wise, yeah, unfortunately. But sustainability and traceability, transparency, those are the main things that we're focusing on right now.
And you're focusing also on recycled fabrics.
Yes, that's something we are doing right now, also together with Rosemary. to develop a soft shell jacket was fully circular, so with a closed loop. And yeah, we want to expand that to other materials. So what we are seeing now, we see a lot of knitwear producers, but we're also looking for woven items.
Okay, and especially the recycled fabric of yarns, the suppliers who can provide that to Textile.
Yeah, but also to close the loop.
Close the loop. Yeah.
So also with someone who can make the yarn out of our soft shell jackets and shredder it and everything. And so that's for us the main focus at the moment.
Oh, we got somebody experienced with recycled yarns, Geesje. How was that for Hooked to find suppliers? Is it easy in Portugal to have suppliers who have recycled fabrics and yarns? I mean, Hooked is now in Portugal you started the company, don't get me wrong, in 2012?
2008.
2008,
yes.
Sorry. But
I think the difference is we are not a fashion producer. We deal with the end of the production cycle, textile waste. So we are, as I always joke, in waste management. We are our own supplier. So Hooked produces itself recycled yarns within our own factories, recycle center in Portugal. But we also work with our suppliers, which are textile companies and we take the residues of their production and we recycle it in-house. But in the meantime, in the course of the last 10 years, we've also, of course, been able to work with suppliers because we can't do everything in-house. To answer your question, finding a supplier in Portugal, it is easy, but it also can be difficult from a Dutch perspective. And it's mainly has to do with cultural differences. Yes, the supply chain is smaller. Factories, yarn mills, and their suppliers are close by. But it's also, it can be challenging sometimes working with Portuguese entities. It can be challenging in a fun way. But in the Netherlands, we tend to be very, we want everything now or actually yesterday. We want to pick up the phone, ask a supplier for their product, their pricing, and then hang up the phone and 5 minutes later get the information. In Portugal, it works a little bit different. It's much less easy to get an orçamento, as they say in Portugal, an offer for a production line or product. So yeah, it is the country. We are based in Portugal. We have a Portuguese entity producing ourselves in Portugal. But even sourcing other articles than, for example, yarn, it can be quite challenging if you come in with a Dutch per se attitude. So the main message I always convey to anyone coming to Portugal and investing in Portugal, which I'm all for it. It's also deal with the tiny differences we have in our cultural approach, and that we in Portugal doing business is also building a relationship. So you have a different way of getting to know your suppliers. You have more face-to-face contact. Of course, in the current times in COVID, it's been less easy to be in face-to-face contact. But it's that is a very important aspect, to sit down with a supplier and get to know their circumstances under which they produce and function.
Mm. And was it in the beginning for a lot of suppliers when you ask for recycled, or you say like yourself, upcycled material, strange questions for them, or were they open, or just going into your in the way you wanted to have your upcycled yarns? Was it very easy?
Yeah, the way I used the waste is different, but there's always been a sort of a recycle mentality in Portugal. A lot of manufacturers of carpets, for example, they also work with leftover materials of textile factories. So there's been a huge artisanal craft community in Portugal making artisanal products with this. The thing is that we don't create artisanal products. We market this product for the do-it-yourself market, knitting, crochet, and macrame. For me, it has not been too difficult. I've been lucky enough that I speak the language, not fluently, but 10 years ago for sure not, but enough to make myself understandable. And I was also able to travel within Portugal and visit those suppliers. So for me, it has been quite easy. And I also started small. So I didn't come in with the whole, like I'm starting this major company and I'm now going to do fabulous business with you. We started on a very small level, and actually the suppliers I started working with 12 years ago or almost 13 years ago, we still have them on board. Okay. So that's almost become our family.
Family, yeah. Well, that's good to hear. It's, I think, important that you have good contact with your suppliers and your producers. And for Rosemary, Clean and Unique, what kind of questions do you get now? I mean, we talked about it, that it's more and more the question about circular and sustainable. What kind of questions do you get as the platform for sustainable brands from out the fashion sector?
Yeah, the brands demanding, they come to me how I can prove what I do that is also correct. And am I correct? Don't I miss something? So we started at the start of this year a project with the True Cost label. They supply a life cycle assessment, and they catch only the environmental part, because also the social part. So what is the salary, the loan of the people in the manufacturing place? It's still hard to get that kind of information. So it's not only about entitlemental part, but also on the social part. Clean Unique also started in the moment that Fair Wear Foundation was entering in the market. Fair Wear Foundation is an organization where I worked for and is looking after, together with the brands, to develop better working conditions for the workers in the supply chain in the textile industry. But there was nothing for the smaller brands or for designers. And the designers and the smaller brands really, like Dan, they came up to me and said, hey, but how I do this and how I improve this also, and how I get the conversation with the manufacturing place, because it's very hard, especially for the, I don't ask to you what's on your bank account, for example. So also this kind of information. So, hey, do you pay your workers good? And I can pay them well, but maybe the next one, they don't pay well because they squeeze the price. So at the end, the worker has no benefit for that. So how you start that kind of information and communication with brands, and how I do prove it, because yes, consumers are more aware because of all the fashion revolution and what happens after the Rana Plaza collapse in 2013. So you don't need to explain anymore to consumers what is sustainability, but now, yeah, how I prove it. And therefore I love also your brand, that you are very transparent, that what you pay on material, what you pay for the workers,
all cost breakdown,
all the cost breakdown, and that is still the next step. Even though also workwear, I know that the open calculations, I worked also in the workwear industry, and I worked only with open calculations, and that is also the proof where your money goes and where the money from your client goes. And that's something still fresh and new for consumers, but it gives more confidence in the brand nowadays. And branding, and because also sustainable brands, they need to sell their products, even, otherwise you don't need to put it on the market. So at the end it goes about sale, but it's also community building with your consumers and the trust consumers they have in your brand and how you catch the trust. And that is because your supply chain is transparent. And there I help, and the strategy is for everyone different.
You help the labels and the brands to get an overview of all those
yeah,
topics.
exactly. But also a few years ago, I worked with a Belgian brand, Noteman. They are also a member of the platform. And they also produce in the Far East. And then we found new factories in Portugal. So now they work with 3 Portuguese manufacturers. And talking about cost, yes, you pay a little bit more, but you don't need to go to the Far East. You don't have time differences. So you are really, how do I say it? You can focus on what you have to do and you don't lose your money because you need more time. When you go to the Far East, you need at least 10 days. Otherwise, it's not beneficial. The high and also the transport, because if we say, okay, we want nearshoring, it's about the CO2 reduction, and it's all about, we are talking about today, even the Glasgow top now behind us, how we reduce that kind of thing. So if you have to go 10 times to the Far East, or you have a good system, what is close by, also there you can reduce cost to cut it out. So I think at the end, the cost price is almost at the same level.
Yeah, but the salaries are not on the same level down in Asia. It's different. Or, I mean, they say now the salary in the southern countries are lower than the rest of Europe.
Yeah.
Or is that the case?
It's quite low in Portugal. I think it's in between 600 to 800 euros, depending on minimum wage and living wage. Supplier always can make those decisions by themselves. We, for example, the factories we work with pay a living wage. That's also what you can find on our website. So we explain that clearly because we think that's important. Mm-hmm. Although in Portugal, many people are still living at home with their parents because there's not enough money to pay for your own space. They often not go on holiday. They have the sun, so that's luckily for them. But yeah, so that's a different mindset. But they also have work. They don't work like crazy hours for just a few dollars a month. So obviously it's lower than for example in Holland. But I think if you pay a living wage, all the expenses of food and etc. are also lower. So I think that's in good quality. Yeah.
Do you agree, Geesje, with Dan about the salary? Do you discuss?
Partly. It's of course it's not comparable to the Dutch salary standards and to the Dutch minimum wages, etc. But you have to bear in mind that in Portugal, when you have your own employees, like we have, you have your own production facility. The year is 14 months. So it's not 12 months like the Netherlands. You have a meal allowance, which I think you mentioned, which is something in the Netherlands. It's actually taxed if you give your employees a meal on the job. The wages, they have been, at least in our company, have been increasing quite rapidly in the last number of years. So yeah, it is of course cheaper than having production in the Netherlands. It's for sure also still cheaper than having production in Spain. But also the wages in Portugal are increasing quite rapidly. And one of the things that we learned quite the hard way is that over time, flexible hours, there is a way to work around governmental laws, but overtime can get expensive very fast. And
Why?
this we learned really the hard way.
You learned the hard way.
Yeah, and another thing that I've learned from being an entrepreneur myself in Portugal is that the labor laws are different. So how you select staff, the way you keep staff, how you can incentivize staff, but also, for example, if you have a case of a problematic employee, it's not so easy to lay someone off compared to the situation in the Netherlands. So there are some differences, but yeah, for sure, they are production in Portugal makes more sense than production in the Netherlands for this type of labor activities.
No,
Maybe you can ask.
no, we don't have another question.
But I think it's getting more and more competitive price-wise, because, for example, we're now launching our first sweater collection in one of our brands. Harvest was fully produced in Portugal, and it's replacing the old one we are producing now in Asia, and we can even lower the price. So I think
Even if the salaries are higher and everything, but still because of
it's also due to the economic situation now worldwide, like what we've talked about, the container prices, they are crazy, and I don't think they will drop very easy and on a short timeline. So yeah, this is the moment to shift your production to Europe, even also economically driven to produce in Europe. So that's also, I think, yeah, you want to do it from a sustainable way, but now it's also economically driven. So that's even better, because then more and more people will join the movement to Europe.
Yeah.
And actually it is now. It's very difficult to book production space at the moment. You only get in a new year. So that's normally
In Asia.
No, in Portugal,
in Portugal.
all of Europe, because they all moved out from Asia due to the transport costs, etc. So you see that that's the next problem. If you promote European production, that now sometimes with a few orders, I have a bit of difficulties to place it in order to deliver on time. So that's also something interesting, that the capacity is also lower because they're not used to it. They don't have big production lines. So that's the next problem that you
But do we need this bigger production? Because today also there was in the news that they found now also in South America tons of non-sold clothes from Asia from the COVID time. We saw also this topic in Africa. I visited one time a plant in Bangladesh, and overproduction is really a big issue. And so a lot of clothes and textiles never see a shop or never comes to a consumer. So therefore, also I love to work with countries closer by, because even in Portugal, you also can order 300 pieces.
Yeah.
I can't imagine this in Bangladesh or in Asia. They start only to talk with you when you talk about 2,500 pieces an item. And all these rabbits from what I saw also in production, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this comes to market, who's going to buy this? I questioned myself, and if you see that with more effort, we slowing down. Okay, Portugal is maybe a little bit slower, you have to build up relations, but we say slow fashion. So slower down, also this, not 12 collections per year, but we come back to 6 collections maybe, and even collections you can wear the whole year around. And why to speed up and why to put so much? So also we have to look into business models and to teach also the consumer that enough is enough. Like Esra say, I know the researcher Irene Maldini, where she referred to and even also we found out in one research that 30% of the clothes we don't wear as a consumer, it's there because it's broken. And but when it's broken, you have to repair it. A lot of clothes, you can't repair it. Even a jacket, the zipper is in one way, you can't repair it. So we have to look into a complete different kind of system where we can repair clothes, where you can maybe also brands, they need a maybe an abonnement with a consumer and also with a repair station closer by, so you can repair it. So you become more in a service mentality and to slow it down, because we don't need so much clothes, because we see it. And then when we pay everyone a good salary, you also have a better price per piece. And I think we have to go to look into that as well.
And what you say is also that you don't need the bigger collections anymore. I mean, because the lines are short, you can say from this sweatshirt, I only do 200 to start and then to see what's going on. And when it's good, I can order more. And when you go to Asia, you have to order at least 1,000 or maybe more, I think, to get only the machines running, I think. So that is one.
That's one of our main reasons to introduce those. The sweater collection now made in Portugal is low volumes to start with, and then afterwards we can see, especially when you're in a stock-based company like us, we have different collections. They're all on stock. We have a huge stock proposition because we're in the workwear, so we have to deliver the same T-shirt now, but also in 5 years and so on. But even we sometimes make a mistake designing an article, and then when we have a small volume bought first time, and it's easy to sell them out. But with the bigger quantities, like Rosemary mentioned, that costs a lot of money each year. So that's also a saving you can use in your calculation to justify the higher price you're paying in Portugal.
But the short line to the manufacturers is good, but still you want the sustainability and the circularity upfront. That is
a short line is of course really important. We talked about it earlier. Like it's great that we have the possibility to fly over if there is a problem.
In 3 hours you're there.
And
you can fly back in the evening.
That's not the most sustainable way, but if needed, it is possible. And also, of course, there is a cultural difference between Portugal and the Netherlands, but I think it's much lower than the cultural differences with our Asian colleagues. So that's also easy. It's much easier to work with. And also the time difference.
The time difference, it's the same. That's also for us very important to pick up the phone, and then you can get somebody on the phone.
And not doing lunch,
Not during lunch. No. Geesje told us before that was in the beginning the problem lunchtime, that there were no phone picking up at lunchtime in Portugal.
Correct.
Yeah,
we have an office in the Netherlands and a production in Portugal, which we still pretty much have. And the Portuguese facility starts at 8 and the Dutch at 9. So we've managed to set the clock at the same time. But and I've always I also arranged that during lunchtime the phone is picked up, because it's if you run a business. This goes on, in my mind, 24/7. But at least while we're open, we need to have someone to cater to the telephone. So that's one of the first things that we changed internally in Hoopt. But if you want to contact a supplier in Portugal or any relation, you should be aware of the lunch and join them.
When you look back in the early days of Hoopt, were there any hiccups for you? that you say, looking back, when I've known that at that time it was for me or for Hoek better and easy to start, or?
I can't compare anything relating to production in Asia because I really focused on production in Portugal. I also invested and started a company at a moment in time where the Portuguese economy was severely hurt. So it was, as I call, anti-cyclic investment. So it was for us, it was for me very easy to get my staff and to set up my company and to work with suppliers. Also because we started small, I didn't come in with too much bravura and too much Dutch bluff, which I think it's important to be, you know, a little bit more humble sometimes. Dutch people we have the tendency to sometimes know it all. It can be perceived as quite annoying and maybe even cold and arrogant. So I think we really started at a good moment. What I've learned is that if you really start production in Portugal, it's important to work closely with a native team. In my case, I had the help of a Portuguese living in the Netherlands, aware of both sides of the culture, so you can have this cultural transition smoothened out. But I think, in my opinion, the combination of the Dutch sales, marketing focus that we have and the Portuguese loyalty of the staff, the fact that they are willing to push forward and deliver for us, I think that combination is very powerful. So I'm all for investing more in Portugal and creating more Dutch Portuguese or Portuguese Dutch companies. Yeah, but one of the things that hindsight, and that's from a Dutch perspective, minor administrative tasks require lawyers, accountants, contabilidade, and notary. So for stuff that we can do ourselves, being an entrepreneur in the Netherlands, for paperwork, you should really factor in some consultancy expenses. Also, the Portuguese law by itself, the way it's written almost, it's less straightforward. So for a Dutch person, it's very difficult to comprehend that a situation can be explained like this, but it could also mean maybe this, and it could also mean maybe the other way. And that's something that you need to factor in when you start to setting up a company in Portugal, and that's my experience.
Mm-hmm. And you, Dan, when you compare it to Asia, working in Asia and in Portugal, when you compare it now in the last 5 years, would you do the same thing, or did you have some hiccups, or did you say, when I knew that, I was used to it because I did it like this in Asia?
Yeah.
But
I think the Asian mentality or the Chinese mentality is they don't want to lose face, and they work hard. They only close their laptop when the work is finished. I experience sometimes in Portugal that's not the case, or it's difficult to get in touch. If you, like Geesje says, sometimes you need to have a quick answer in order to give that to your customers, and then they don't pick up the phone. So that's sometimes difficult. On the other way, they understand the product very well. They give good input, also on sustainability. They're eager to learn. So that's what I experienced as well.
So they went on with you in the process of the circularity and sustainability.
Yeah.
And you could work really good with your manufacturers to get the product, the end product.
GOTS certified, for example. Well, 5 years ago, I was asking for the GOTS certification. I do a lot of 100% recycled materials. They now offer me new developments on that. So that was 5 years ago, completely different what they do now. So they're eager to learn, innovative, And like Bras also, I think, was explaining, for example, with the water waste system, the laundries are circular. If they cut the fabric into patterns, in the fabric they have a tube, they suck all the yield fabric, and there's a recycling truck collecting it. So they've already implemented all these systems. While in Asia, yeah, there was you don't know where to begin.
Yeah, Bras, for you, for Citeve, is that very important to help the textile industry in Portugal? When you hear all the things today from sustainability and circularity, what fashion brands are asking for, is it what can we do to stimulate this? And are the Portuguese market prepared and adapting in this whole process?
First of all, I would say that we all must clarify some concepts in our heads. We cannot think about CSR and at the same time to discuss if people has or not time for lunch. We must respect traditions. We must respect the way of life people. This is the responsibility of our companies here. We will not have in the future any people to work in textile sector without this kind of concerns. Another point concerning salary, as someone said before, yeah, when a Dutch guy looks to 800 euros per month, yeah, it seems very small amount, but in any case, we pay 14 months per year. It means 1,000. 1,000 is different from 800. And yes, the Big Mac index is very important on this, because 1,000 euros in Portugal gives more to our lives than 1,000 in Netherlands. So the point is to be competitive, to be as cheap as possible, but with fair conditions for our workers. I mean salary and working conditions. This is very important. Portugal will be not anymore a country with slaves working in factories and so on. No, we are not looking for it. Another point is related to the concept of sustainability. Sustainability is everything. CSR, of course, but it's not just recycling. Or in certain cases, to recycle is not sustainable. Take a look to the amalgam we have in certain recycled materials that join everything from everywhere without chemicals inside. You don't know. We don't know how to treat these materials in order to have safe and really sustainable materials. So the point or the strategy for my country is not to run after the market claims, more when some buyers come to Portugal to have the best, the more sustainable, the more everything, but the lowest price possible. No, we must clarify that when we offer a different service, when we offer a different product, of course, this product is a different pricing, a different markup maybe in the market. So yeah, our aim now is no more to learn to companies how to use recycled fibers, but how to create the new way to obtain recycled fibers. Do you believe on mechanical recycling? I don't believe. because circularity is not possible with it. You degrade about 50 to 80% of the fiber characteristics during a mechanical recycling process. So we must find quickly different ways to produce virgin fibers from end-of-life products. That's the aim for the future. Another aim is to nearshoring as well for raw materials. It's not sustainable to buy cotton in Pakistan or in China and to bring these materials to Portugal to be processed and then to go to the rest of the world. We are thinking about nearshoring as well the raw material supplying. This is why we started in Portugal a huge program to produce locally high performance fibers from forest, from agriculture, and to use industrial symbiosis to find chemicals or products from other industries, waste from our other industries to functionalize our textiles.
You
know, for instance, an example, the Colorado patent is based on a technology developed by Senti and Citel, and uses waste from food industry to produce color in cotton or in lyocell or other kind of materials. This is the way. Sustainability is to taking into account that some fibers are produced competing the land with food production. This is not sustainable. This is not sustainable to have, for example, cotton production using kiloliters and kiloliters of water exactly in the regions in the world where the water is more scarce. So this is, all of this is sustainability. At the end of the day, we must take time to do so. It needs lots of knowledge, not lots of technology. Sustainability is not only mindset changing. We need science on that. We need the good cross-link between science and industry. And maybe for this reason, Portugal is a nice test bed for new technologies on recycling. Why? Because, as you know, the sector is not big in Portugal, but is completely concentrated in a small region, allowing companies to be specialized because they count with the collaboration with others. Several of you said exactly that in one day you can go to several companies because they are neighbors. That's easy to contact, and that's easy as well to make happen collaboration between several companies in order to test, to develop, and to confirm these technologies. In CITEB, we are certain that the coming couple of years will be very important for the future of the textile sector in Portugal, because the bioeconomy approach, the policies developed by the government and in collaboration with companies and the technological center will change completely the face of the fiber sourcing and the use of chemicals, the use of water, the use of energy. This is, in our point of view, this is all of this is sustainability. So another point is related to people to work. It's not easy to implement a confection in Netherlands, I understand, but more and more is more and more is difficult as well to implement new confections in Portugal because we don't have people for that. So another acts of intervention need to be boosted quickly is related to digitalization. So at several areas, first of all, transparency and trust and good information, allowing consumers to have a responsible choice, must change completely the way we label our products.
Yeah, transparency.
Nowadays, the label is nothing. It's as 100% cotton. What kind of cotton? Produced where? By who? What kind of transformation? Nothing. We don't have no information about the product. So it's very difficult to convince consumers to be more responsible if they don't have information on that. And for this, of course, information technologies are crucial. To develop these technologies, maybe using other experience like blockchain and this kind of technologies, but at the same time to create a way to be easy to use this technology in order to have all the community related to the fashion production, all the chain committed to with the feeding of this system. It's very important. And at the same time, it's very important to have a horizontal platform in order to be able to accept stakeholders from everywhere in the world. This is crucial for the future of transparency and sustainability in fashion sector for the future. We are convinced that the next couple of years will be determinant for this change. But as well in the plant, we have some sectors in the world like electronics or car construction, where robotics and the new family of collaborative robots are used, and you must introduce these technologies in our sector. It's not possible to have so many human hands on the product in the future. Otherwise, we'll return to Asia, and we'll return, or we can do some steps backwards in terms of sustainability, in terms of circularity, and so on. So for this reason, in the first part of my intervention, I tried to make a framework where we are, what is our history, why at this moment Portugal has sustainability in the center of the business. But more than that, it's good for me to have the opportunity to translate somehow what is the future and what are our concerns and our determination for the future. We will do so because we believe in a textile and clothing sector in Portugal. And of course, we don't like to know that someone in my sector in Portugal has a salary corresponding to the minimum salary. Personally, my objective for the future is to avoid completely this possibility. And I think that's possible in the future. But you buyers, a little story. I would like to talk to you. In the
Make a little story.
in Copenhagen conference, it was very interesting because people or trademarks were represented by the so-called CSOs. It means Chief Sustainability Officers. Nice name. I will be a CSO in the future. It's very nice. But all the retailers went to this conference to say, we must claim for good conditions of work for the workers, good salaries, and so on. But we know that in the same companies, the buyers goes to Asia, to Bangladesh, to have the smaller prices as possible.
Yeah.
And sustainability is a good balance between everything. No sustainability with a huge investment in research and development, and a huge investment changing our plants in order to have better processes to reach the circularity and the sustainability.
Yeah, so we have a lot of topics coming together for sustainability. It has to do with the salary, like you said, but also with the yarns and the manufacturers. It's a lot of think about for the future. We're not there yet. That's what we can understand. And I think you have maybe a question.
Yeah, I was wondering, Bras, you are in the developing of new innovations, and also I love to hear that you are looking also in agriculture and waste streams from the land, etc., and maybe for the food industry. But I'm curious, and I have a very Dutch question. Who is paying this? From who you get this innovation budget for develop this into your companies? Do you have do you work with subsidies from the EU, or are these some brands who are involved that they say, okay, I want an innovation and I want to spend an X amount on that? So I would love to know how you work on this, because I know that in Europe we are all looking also to work with the waste stream from the food industry, agriculture, but also here around Schiphol. There's this elephant plan, and it's an obstacle over there. So they are doing research what they can do more of it than only to make granulate. But who are involved in CITEF to do these innovations?
Yes, first of all, CITEF belongs to companies. We are private. More than 700 companies are the stakeholders or the shareholders of CITEF. CITEF is, as a professional and private management. In any case, these kind of challenges are funded by three parts. The first one, companies. The second one, ourselves, because you know we sell services, and we are not able to distribute the results to our shareholders. So all the results are reinvested in research and development. So first part, companies; second part, ourselves; and third part, the government. All the advanced countries have a strong policies to support science and technology. And in this case, finally, we convinced the government to support more the science and technology oriented to the textile and clothing sector. For this reason, for example, I talk about the bioeconomy huge project. We will have a support of 72 million euros from the government for a total of about 200 million euros investment by the companies. So this is a mix. Our strategy is exactly to maintain this balance between our investment from companies, and investment from the government.
Okay, thank you.
Well, maybe we can ask the audience. We have an audience, maybe that will have some questions for you all. So meanwhile, they can type a question in our chat function. And I want to know from Clean and Unique, talking about the circularity and sustainability, and your platform with all the brands coming there and asking you for the information, but it is also other platforms are saying we do the same. And how can fashion labels measure if they are at the right place with you, with yours?
Okay, yeah, everyone's free to go where they want to go, but I think a good network and a good matchmaking is very important. And to understand really the market, I know that a lot of platforms, they deliver it from digital service, but they don't know anything about the textile industry. And I mentioned before that the textile industry is a strange one when it comes to a manufacturer who makes jackets is not able to make a t-shirt. It looks strange, but it is like it is. So every manufacturer has their unique manufacturing place because all the machines are different, etc. And to know yeah, where you have to go, it's very important, and the connection. And therefore, also we are planning now with the Embassy of the Netherlands in Portugal, also a matchmaking event. So to get to know each other and take time to know who is doing what, and if it's suitable for your company, because yeah, like in relations, you like each other or not, and like also Geesje said, it's building up relationships, and even when you have a delay in a supply and you have very good relation with your supplier, also then your supplier wants to run a little bit harder for you, and only when you have a good relation and you come back again, and not when you show one time your face. And so reliability of the brand itself, but also the manufacturing place, who is who. And yeah, you have to make kilometers in that part, I think. So that is why Clean Unique is, I think, a very good one. But of course, yeah, everyone is free to come and to go. But our platform is growing, especially because of our expertise, because we work with a lot of experts. And when we don't know it by ourselves, we are happy to help them moving forward.
Thank you. We got a question. Let's see. How can we transmit better that Portugal is the correct choice to produce? The vendors should also sell themselves better. Sell first Portugal and then the vendor. Now they just sell themselves. It's a question. It's somebody from the audience is saying that. Is that true? Bras, can you tell what's your opinion about this?
I don't know if I understood completely the question. In any case, I should say that we know that Portuguese industry is not the best in terms of marketing. Yeah, we are industrial base, industrial culture, and we are in the first steps understanding how we can sell ourselves, how you can give value to our products or our services. Yes, that's way we are going now. But in any case, sometimes foreign guys come to Portugal and do better than we can do, promoting our services and products. Yeah, that's it. More marketing. Yeah, we must be a little bit more marketeers and maybe maintaining our capacities in terms of industry, of course, not losing industry to gain marketing. But that's for sure a problem in Portugal. We are addressing this problem, trying to be a little bit better. But one point is the new generation is arriving to the sector is different. People in the 40s with strong education, international education, is now different from the grandfathers or the fathers of these guys. And I believe that in a short period, we can have some differences from the past at this level.
Okay, thank you. Maurice, how can the Embassy of the Netherlands respond to this? Now you have heard this conversation.
Yeah, first of all, I think it's very interesting to know that we kind of talk the same language, although there's many cultural differences. I think the perspective on circular economy and the important aspects, I think we're on the same level. So that was very, very encouraging to listen from both sides, both from Bras as well as the Dutch brands. So that was interesting to notice and to hear. What we can do as an embassy, I think, is what we're doing right now: bring parties together, talk about, discuss the opportunities that are existing in Portugal and the needs in the Netherlands. That's what we're doing now. Next possible step could be a matchmaking. See which companies would be interested in the Netherlands in producing in Portugal. And with Bras's knowledge and his network, I think it would be good to set up matchmaking. So that could be a possible next step.
Yes, so that would be great. Well, I like to want to maybe thank everybody. Everything maybe said for today, and hopefully we can continue in the following upcoming months with this round table. And I want to thank you all for your time and being here. And want to thank the audience as well, of course, to hear this, and hope that if you have any other questions, you can contact us, of course. And well, let's see what will continue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.